Hello and welcome back to the podcast, We Are Selling. My name's Lee Woodward, the author of the Complete Salesperson course. One of the most famous audios on negotiation featured Mat Steinwede, and that audio was called Pure Negotiation. We've had many requests in the last few months to go into the detail, the psychology of how negotiation works and what study you need to do as a real estate professional to be absolute the best you can be representing owners in the marketplace. With this challenge at hand, there was no better ever recording on the topic of negotiation than Pure Negotiation. So today I've done a re-edit and master of that critical information. Matt and I take you right through the journey of everything you need to know to be a competent and brilliant negotiator. Let's cross to the program. Mr. Mat Steinwede, thank you for joining us.
Hi Lee, thanks very much.
Our topic outline today is very direct. We're going to get right into the content of the topic, but just give me your view on negotiation and where does it start?
Wipe away the mist and get to the bottom of, how do we handle an effective negotiation? So where does it start was the question you asked just then. It starts when you meet the people. It starts by listening to what they're saying, understanding the message that they're getting across to you. Not so much the words that they're saying, but the feelings that they have around what they've experienced before, what they want, where they're going. Really listening and grabbing onto that information.
We've got to negotiate our fee, price, terms, concessions, the marketing, what some people refer to as a non-negotiable, the expiry of the listing, the final fee, meaning you've got all the deal together and they say, well, just before we end up here, let's relook at your fee. So I'm going to use these as our framework, but I'd like you to share your technique because technique goes across all 10. There's not 10 different ways to do it. Negotiation's a psychology, and I think if we can learn that in this program, our outcome will be outstanding. Matt, I'm going to give you some key words to lead you into the preparation that you and I have done prior to this recording. And I loved it when you said to me, information controls the process.
The key to an effective negotiation is feeding information back to people that they've given you already. And this is what I mean about understanding what's important to people when you first meet them. Like when I meet a buyer, I think to myself, this is where I start negotiating. This is where I start gathering all my information about how much they've got to spend, what they really like, where they live now, what are they looking for.
It'd be fair to say it's better to gather the information early on a property they don't want to buy versus when the game is on a property they do want to buy.
The number one thing that I do when I meet somebody and they say, look, I've got $500 to $550 to spend on a house, and I'll say to them, look, if I found the perfect house and it was $620, would you like me to show it to you?
Oh, definitely.
100%. Right there, I know if I find them a house for $580,000, they can pay $580,000. It's just how I help them get there.
And I think another great question while we're in this, let's call it preparation stage of negotiation, what's the best home you've seen so far and why didn't you buy it?
It's reference points. Reference points and framing. This is what negotiation is about. When you take a buyer to a house and they say, I think mine's better than these ones, or, I like my house much better than this. And you can get frustrated with that because you think to yourself, why don't you just stay in your house? But what they're saying to you is there's important characteristics about the home that they live in now, which they'd like to transfer to this area that they want to move to. I always ask people, tell me about the home you live in at the moment. This is before I even take them to show them a house. Tell me about the home you're living in now. What do you like about the particular house you live in? Because this is a reference point for them. It's very real. It's very true for them. And they want to connect with another property over here on the Central Coast, if they're from Sydney, that has some of these key elements.
Great key question here is, what is it you don't have in the property you have now that you'd like to achieve in your next move? And I love the word property goals. What are we trying to achieve? What are your property goals?
You've got to get into their world. It's not about just racing out and helping them find a house in their budget. It's really asking those questions about their kids, about their dog, about their whatever. How many people have pets these days that are like part of the family? Is a dog-friendly beach an important thing to them? Spend a bit of time with people. Create a question list that's not intrusive, but just so you can start formulating what's this person's life about.
And when it comes time for the real negotiation, I love movies about...
Spend a little bit more time with people. It's not about working with as many buyers as you can work with. It's about working with quality buyers over a period of time. But the questions that you're asking people up front early on are creating the agenda to your negotiation down the track.
And what we call purchaser logic. A great thing to say to a buyer is, let me just make sure I've got this right. We need a home that the kids can ride to and from school. That's very important to you, Matt, isn't it? The only thing stopping you from reaching your property goals right now is your perception on price. Can I ask you, if this was sold tomorrow, what would you do?
I'd be a bit annoyed.
So is this really about price, or is it about the feeling of winning on price? Matt, it's up to you what you do. Every day, in every way, we see someone miss out on the home they should have bought for a perception that they were paying a figure higher than they thought. What if the figure you thought was wrong? Because it's going to be wrong immediately that somebody else pays a higher price, and everyone goes, you should have just paid it.
Yep.
Well, we can't should have done anything if you don't step forward now.
True. And I would say there as well, what sort of value do you put on watching your kids ride to and from school?
Matt, still on this topic of information controls the process. The more information we have about the reason for someone purchasing or selling or negotiating gives us that positioning as a professional negotiator to win through. I'll give you an example. I had a crappy house with a massive block of land next to a nature strip, like a reserve area. And everybody else said, oh, that's an okay house. But to the guy with the bobcat business who could park his truck and no one on the right-hand side to complain, it's like buying a business and a house. So to him, it's worth $100,000 more than the general market. But if I don't ring the bobcat company and say, hey, I've got one. Now he comes in and says, oh, I'm not paying that. It's more than the one down the road. It's impossible.
You know, I see every time I show a house to a person, I only work with about 20 hot buyers. The most 20 hot buyers, probably 15 most of the time. And they're the ones I focus on mostly. I give all the other buyers just about to people in my office. Because I spend a long time looking for properties for these people. If I'm going to work with them, I want to work with them and find them a house. But I see every time I take them out to show a house, it's like I'm gathering a bit more info. I probably have a position in the marketplace that I achieve fairly strong prices for owners. There was a lady that I sold a house to in Avoca. I worked with her for about 2 years to find a house. I got so much information from this lady. I heard this guy was going to sell his property, and I saw it, and it was like, bang, the right house. I rang her. She came straight up. She paid $500,000 more than what the house was worth. Now, think about that. $500,000 more. It was a $1.8 million. Well, she paid $1.8 million. But to her, it didn't matter. But she started off spending $1 million when I first met her. But over time, I could see that her criteria was so specific. She had the money, and it was more finding that fit. And this is what I mean about the power of the information. When it came to sell, she knew it was more than what probably it was worth. But how much do you pay for her kids just to walk across the road to the beach? That's one of her number one criteria, and it was like 20 steps to the beach. But I think over a long period of time, I almost earned the right to guide her through this negotiation, even though it was more than what the rest of the marketplace would probably think it was worth.
So your collective intelligence of all the information, you can pretty much target sell something because you'll hear the words all the time, I've got the buyer for this.
If you look at how sales are made, a lot of the sales, there's quick sales and there's longer sales. A lot of my sales, I've been working with the people for a long time, and the quick ones are just like a bonus. So I think it's a little bit like buyer prospecting, I suppose. But the negotiation is so much stronger when the relationship is stronger. Good relationship with a buyer, it's worth a premium to an owner because people will listen to you. You've earned the right to guide them.
Matt, I've been driving along in a car with a purchaser, and a lady's pointed out a sign to me and said, see that company? I don't care what house they've ever got. I would never, ever buy through them. Now, this is the reverse of what we're talking about. Someone's upset a relationship. She will not buy this home now because of the attached agent, male or female, in their dialogue. And now we're talking about negotiating feelings. The way you said that to me was disgraceful. Now, she may not repeat that back to the agent, but the agent's lost the best purchaser for their vendor.
You'll notice there's very few scripts and dialogues on here. It's more about the functionality of negotiation. And what I mean by functionality, There's a lot more to it. You look at a lot of the high performers or people that are doing really well, they spend a lot of time with buyers. They spend a lot of time with sellers. They spend a lot of time building these relationships. That's why they do well.
And let me just add to something, which is that some people will find as a schizophrenic comment from myself. If your dialogue's too good, they don't believe you. Roughed up dialogue. Example, sometimes slowing up the negotiation and saying, Matt, could you just run this all past me again? I want to make sure I've got it crystal clear so when I communicate with the owners, I don't let you down. And people like that you want to learn what they want.
I've always wondered, when you deal with a barrister or a solicitor, as frustrating as they are sometimes, they're not deal makers necessarily, but they confirm everything in writing. Everything. You know why? Because they're playing a really strong position of, if there is a negotiation, I have everything in front of me. There's a lot of power in that.
When we look at relationship levels, influence and negotiation, completeness and accuracy, meaning, I want to copy the sewer diagram. It's emailed that day. I want to know, is there a survey? There wasn't one. I've tracked one down from an original sale. There it is. And they think, you're really good at what you do. There's another 20 grand.
How often do we, and I don't know if people do or not, but we show people houses, 3 or 4 houses, spend a couple of hours with them. How nice would it be getting home as a buyer and say, great to see you today. Showed you 18 Hilltop, whatever it may be. This house, I know this part suited you. Just summarise the day nicely. I know what I'm looking for. I will find it for you, and I'll let you know as soon as I do. But just summarise what they've seen today, the good points, not so good points. What would those buyers think of you as an agent?
That you are absolute professional.
100% on their journey with them. So come the time of they need to listen to you, what do you think they'll do?
Follow your lead.
Follow your lead, and that's what it's all about.
The error made is that the agent's going to rip me off and I've got to pay too much of this house, so we've got to battle the whole way through. The first thing you've got to do is remove that situation. Like some people used to come really aggressive head-on negotiating with me, and I'd say, Matt, I appreciate what you wish to do here, but based on these terms, I don't think you're going to succeed in living in this home. And maybe you should walk away now and let us sell it to somebody else on terms that the owner's more looking for than be frustrated with me as you are at the moment. Or suddenly saying, don't you want to sell me the house? I'd love to sell you the house, but the way you want to do it, you and I don't own this home, they do, and I'm engaged to make sure it's sold a certain way. And that doesn't just include price. Now, you're asking for terms and conditions on a home you don't own yet. So I can't meet your demands when you and we're not on title. The title is to Mr. and Mrs. Edie, and Mr. and Mrs. Edie have their feelings and negotiations, and they actually have the right to sell it to whoever they like. So unless we can calm this down a little bit and be civil in what we're trying to put forward as a good option, I think we could lose the home just on what we're trying to do.
Being a great negotiator, it's all about it's street smart. It's about being street smart and reading a scenario. You know how there's been quite a few times when the negotiation's just been that difficult? When it has been like that, sometimes I've gone, Mr. So-and-so, come with me. I want to sit down with Fred. We're going to have a chat, cuppa. We're going to talk about where you're at, where he's at. Let's have a chat about it. Hopefully we can shake hands at the end of it and you'll own the house.
Bring all parties together.
Comes together every time. Because you take away the
aggression.
Yeah, the stance, the blue and red corner. I'm not afraid to do that. I'm really not. As long as I framed it right with both people, it will come together. And that's what I mean. It wouldn't be great if every negotiation was not sitting in a room with people, but had that element of transparency about it.
This is such an important point. I get 2 or 3 phone calls a week with this same question from all different people over Australia. Lee, the vendor's here, the buyer's there, they won't drop, they won't come up. How do I get it together? That's the question. It's like an identical question. And I always say to the agent, firstly, what's the owner's name? Oh, Steve. Is it Stephen or Steve? It's Steve. Now, Stephen's very different to Steve. What's the purchaser's name? Michael. Is it Mick or Michael? Mick. Well, you said it was Michael. They go, what does this matter? Just give me the quick script to get the money up. And I go, no. Firstly, I need to know the real names because I need to know what to say back. Next question. Why are the owners actually selling? I don't know. They don't even know why the owner's selling. Yet they want this sharp dialogue to bring it up 100 grand. Can I ask you something else? What did the owner say on the second offer? Now, this next question answers it for me. They said, the buyer's getting it all their own way. I say, okay, I found the problem. You. And they go, what do you mean? So it's got nothing to do with the owner of the purchasers here. You must have gone back to the buyer and said, I put your offer in, the owner said no, they want this. Yeah, I did. You never, ever make the vendor the rejecter. You always be the rejecter. The vendor must stay neutral. Otherwise, the pride...
Well, it's red and blue corner.
And this red and blue corner, I'll tell you what's interesting. How is it these people have never met, they hate each other, and the only common ground between them is you? So your delivery and your sharp words have actually caused the problem, and that's why this house is not going to sell, the way you deliver the information back and forth.
100%. You know what I do most of the time with when people are inspecting houses? I always tell the owner their full names. I always tell them what they've seen, what they're hoping to achieve in their move, any sort of feedback, obviously, and as much information about them personally as I physically can. This is on the first inspection, and I email them their names and everything, all the information I can. Then on the second inspection, if they're getting really interested, I like the owner to be there somewhere so they can meet each other. I love that. And I say to...
Break down the barriers.
Yeah, first inspection, I say to the owner, look, you just go down the shops, I'll be right, we'll just go through. It's all about the feel on the first inspection, it's about detail on second inspection. If it's a second inspection they're interested, I say, look, would you mind just being out the backyard, just gardening? I'd like you to meet the buyers for one, the potential buyers. But also there might be some other things they want to ask you. Bam. Once that happens, it's usually a much smoother negotiation.
I can guarantee you, I could go in and represent the offer with delivery, and the owner will be completely different. I'll give you two outcomes. That first one we chatted about, they're getting it all their own way. How that was delivered was shocking. Example, the agent will say, they're only offering you $800 because the gutters are knackered, the fences are falling over, and the pool needs fixing in the crack. The owner knows those points. That's why they're moving. But when you say it, you've changed sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I'd go into the owner and say, Mrs. Williams, we have some interest on your home, and this is exciting because I didn't have anyone yesterday, but today I do. Well, Lee, what are they going to pay? I've started negotiations, but I want to make sure everything's in line with what you're thinking. Firstly, let me tell you about the people. They're actually going to live in here. It's not an investment. They have 2.5 children, I think. They love the way the deck goes to the yard. They think the home's got a beautiful linkage. They can see themselves living here. And the owner would pipe up and go, oh, I want it to go to someone nice. And I'd go, bingo. Now, what are they going to pay? They came in at $710. I said no. It came to $738. I'm still working on it. And I need to go back. I'm just keeping you in the loop at the moment. Lee, do you think they're going to go to the 800? I think they love your home. I don't know if they're approved to 800. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Another great thing to say right there, which is, I love what you said then, is, would you mind if I just handled it for you for a little bit and I'll keep you posted?
Beautiful. But what we both did is not go, got an offer of $750, do you want to take it? My next question for you is this. What are the 3 common mistakes that are made?
Something that I demonstrate to owners when I'm listing their property, but also it's the framework that I have. There are 3 things you need to be very careful of, and I see agents cost owners lots of money by just answering them, not exactly wrong, but by answering them not completely. And I guess what I mean by this is, let's talk about the first one. What's the first question buyers ask you?
What am I going to get it for?
And there's another one as well. Is it negotiable? Are the owners negotiable? What will they get? What will I get it for? You know how many agents actually say a figure?
Well, that's called embezzlement.
My goodness, it is amazing that agents actually say a figure. The reason that they usually say a figure is because you say to an owner, look, it's probably worth $550, but let's put it on for $589. Let's see how we go. Second, a buyer asks that question. It disarms the agent completely. When I say that to owners always say, that happened to me.
And you're also discounting the quality of the home. If people think they can get something cheap, they're excited for a millisecond, and then they think, why is it so cheap?
That's right. What I would say is, look, I think the home represents reasonable value. What do you think? Now, I listen very carefully, yes or no. They say, yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's okay, we really like it. Where are you going to go with this negotiation? You're going to head to list price or a great price or whatever it's going to be. They say no. I need to find the next platform, which is what we're going to talk about later in this CD, platforms. But I need to find the next platform. The platform is where are they coming from here? So I'll say, Look, as far as I can see, I think the home's priced relatively well. It's priced comparatively, so we priced it based on firm comparables. Can you give me any reasons why you're thinking it's too dear? And I'm happy to let the owners know, because if you're interested in buying the property, it's really important we're all on the same page at this point. Any reasons you're thinking it's too dear? Now, if I've got some firm comparables, I'll use them, and 9 times out of 10 I can overcome their concerns. It's all about finding these little agreements on the way. But sometimes they use a property down the road. Mate, the property's on for $530 down the road. I'll say, have you been through that house? Yeah, we took a look at it. How come you didn't buy it?
Great question. Is there any reason why you didn't proceed with that one?
Yeah, why is that? Oh, you know, the rooms are a little bit small and the backyard wasn't sunny enough. This is a north-facing backyard, and I'll say, okay, let's use that home, because they're using that as a reference point, right? This is like where they live almost. It's a reference point. Let's use that home. We've got to agree that this home offers more than that home, doesn't it? Has to.
Correct.
Okay. So it's got to be worth more. What would you pay for the house?
And don't use the whole amount. How much more than that one is this one? Is it 100, 120? Because then you're adding it on to what you've got.
Sorry, and what I usually say just after that is, before I say how much would you pay, it's got to be worth somewhere towards there, wouldn't you think? And they'll say, yeah, I guess so. Well, what would you pay for the house? That's what I would say to them.
And I love leading dialogue, such as, Matt, if we can agree on a higher price, what terms do you need? Now, I've moved off price to a higher platform, meaning we've got consent on a higher price, and they're like, I didn't say I'd pay a higher price. I just consented myself. So if we can achieve agreement on a higher price, what terms do you need? What do you mean? Well, do you need a 6-week settlement, a 10? I definitely need a 6. I've got to be out of my place. I think this one's on a 10-week. I'll need to confirm that. If it has to be 10, can you make arrangements? I suppose we could. You go into the owner. Do you want a 6 or a 10? I need 6. Come back to the purchaser. I've got you your 6-week settlement. But suddenly, platforms are connected to concessions.
The reason I talk about platforms, and you're talking about them as well, is the platform is the next logical place to spring from. You don't have that platform, you'll create a massive cavern, you won't get across it, it'll stall the negotiation. We'll go to the next common mistake, which is an offer. Agents accept an offer on an owner's behalf that's miles away from where you need to be. It's just a low offer.
So you're meaning property's on the market for 800,
yeah,
and they've come in and said, well, we'll offer you 710, and the agent doesn't negotiate and goes to the owner.
Yeah, well, let's say they say, what will I get it for? So they all sort of link together. What will I get it for if it's on at 800? Oh, look, I think the owners will probably take 775, something like that, if you can move quickly.
And just for the reference of this record, that should never be done.
Never.
You should never use that dialogue. It's not right.
Never. It just costs owners lots of money.
Well, it's not your house. You can't consent to anything.
Exactly right. If let's say that happens, a buyer responds by, well, the agent's basically told me how much the owner will probably accept. Let's see how low we can actually go here.
Exactly.
Let's see how low.
A new problem.
Yeah, offer them $690. This is mistake number 2. Getting a low offer that way, or just getting a low offer in general without actually taking care of it first and diluting it. You go to an owner, look, the buyers have offered $690,000. What would you like me to do? You're going to go, as the owner, not interested, but the negotiation has actually started.
I agree with what you're saying. There's a vision to price.
You need to find the next platform here. Like, is this buyer for real? Like, are they just trying to steal this property? They're just trying to buy it at a price that they considered a bargain? Or are they really a buyer for this? I'll say to people, look, let's say it's been on the market 2 weeks. We've had 10 people through the home. The feedback so far has been sort of that upper mid-7 range. Is that still within your spending capacity? You're not saying you've got offers or anything like that. The feedback has been. And you want to see what they say. I want to see the emotion attached to this. No, mate, wouldn't pay that. Well, they're not the right buyer. So you've got to have the right buyer for the property most of the time.
How interesting. On the Real Estate Hot Topics program once, separate to this, you mentioned, I don't think I can get a value till I get someone who likes it. Someone who likes it, now we can start exploring. And be careful of a leading question from them. Had any offers yet?
No, and I would say, like I said, we've had feedback through. We've had 10 people through. That's just the feedback that we've had. I've fed that back to the owners. They're educated buyers that have been looking in the marketplace, but we've had no firm offers, just market feedback.
When anyone says to me, have you had any offers yet? I'd say, well, it depends what you call an offer. many people choose to wait till it's too late and it's sold, then they always say, I would have paid that. Now, the interest has been excellent. Are you interested in making an offer? If you can reverse it round in a question, the negotiation can start. Whenever they throw that first figure at you, how did you arrive at that figure? And then they'll come at you again and say, appreciate that. So if the owner said no, what would be the next price you would offer? But it's all platform questions versus arguing with them over their perceived value.
Look, some buyers are great negotiators without even knowing about it. They're like kids. Kids are great negotiators. Oh, can I have an ice cream? Yeah, I can. Well, can I have two? Like, they just ask, It's like people like credible evidence. That's why they ask these questions. Have you had any offers or anyone else interested in it? They like to feel that there's credible evidence around this product because price is subjective. Is there more money there? Is there 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, whatever it's going to be? I say to a buyer, no, they say, there's 680, I'll walk away, forget it. Okay, that's it. The owners can go jump if they don't take that offer. We'll keep looking. I'll say, Theo, you've been looking for what? 3 months for the right home, and I've helped you right the way through. That's completely fine if you want to walk away. I'm happy with that. But I just want you to know that I'm happy to help you look for another 3, 6, 12 months for a home exactly like this. Okay, so as long as you want to keep looking for, I'm happy to help you. Just want you to know that. But if I can find another home, I don't even know if I will. I haven't seen one in the past 6 months like this home that suits you this well in this position. If it does pop on the market, I'd say it'd be dearer than this. Because not only is this home priced fairly well, because these owners have priced it to sell within the next 30 days, which it looks like it's going to, but also that's how the marketplace moves. Okay, so this will create the next sale price and the next one will come on. But that's okay. If you want to pay more, I'm happy with that too. Just before you walk away, can I ask you a question? If someone was to come into the office tomorrow and pay $690 for it, would you be disappointed? If I can help you secure the home, take it off the market for 5 days, show you how to do that, do you just want to move ahead of that and secure the home you actually want? Some people say yes. Some people say, man, I just don't have it. I just don't have it. Look, $685, that's as much as I can go. Credit cards are full. Everything's done. I've taken all the change out of the coin holder in the cart. That's it. I can't pay any more. $685, then that's my best shot.
And that's where you can throw in a dialogue. Matt, that's exactly why you should buy it. It will never be at this price ever again.
But I say to an owner, can you see right there, I've helped you understand how much is in the marketplace. And that's what selling a home is about.
Do you agree in being a negotiator, there's a time to spike the conversation, not to get them upset, but to make them think? So, for example, I remember this one Italian guy who was negotiating with me for about 2 years. No, not paying this, not paying this, not paying that. I said one day, Mario, every house I've showed you that you didn't buy is now sold. If you're so right, why don't you own a house?
100%. Sometimes if people are painful, I say, look, the only thing stopping you buying the house that you want is you. But I think you're right. There is a time and a place, and this is where street smarts, I guess, comes into play. But there's a time to be a little bit more assertive and not.
How do you stay neutral yet lead?
With the information that I've gathered, it gives you a level of confidence. It gives you a level of connectivity with the people. And I just say to them, it's more about what they want. It's not about me saying, you need to be here, otherwise you can't have it. It's more about understanding what they want, and staying neutral to lead, and lead to me is I'm there with them, side by side. Come on, let's go on. Let's secure the home you actually want. Tapping into the thing, it's not even really about price. I mean, as long as they've got the money, it's not even really about price. It's really understanding how their level of comfort and lifestyle around this property.
When we had Amber Worshen on air doing Breaking Through, she mentioned the word, it's not about price, it's the justification of the price. So how can I help you justify that this is the price? That's a gem in the way of, if somebody else bought it above you, it's been justified that it was worth it. You just don't own it. So what do we need to do for you to feel comfortable that this is the home for you?
That's the question that you need to be subliminally, is that the word? Subliminally asking without saying it. On a deep level, that's the whole feeling that the negotiation needs to have right the way through.
I think a powerful thing in influence is to give a weakness. look, I appreciate you're going to buy this other one down the road. I'm going to lose you on our property, and that's not a good thing for me. You have the right to do that, and I know you can. And they're thinking, yeah, right, you understand it. I'm in control because I can do this. Yes, you can. But are you doing that to prove a point that you can do that?
You connect them back to their reference point. This is the whole basis of this. It's their reference points are their reality. So you need to connect them to that and then lead them. This reminds me of a little story when we've got a new salesperson in our office. He's been in real estate a few years, but he's come from Sydney and then worked at another agency and come to us. And he's got no listings in the area that he's working. And the agent down there has got a really big market share. And he's in a place, he got invited, and was like, woohoo, market opinion, let's go. All excited down there. 2.5 hours he was there with the bloke, having a beer and all that sort of stuff. Not that I condone having a beer at work, but that's what he had to do at that point in time. Because after 2 hours, the guy said, mate, having a beer. You're going to have one with me. He said, I can't, I'm at work. He said, mate, you're having one. And he said, okay, I'll have one. When they were just about having to have the beer, he said, look, I'm considering going with Ray White. He's got most of the signs and he's got most of the properties for sale here. And Martin said, yeah, I get that. I totally understand that. But do you know, he's got 37 listings right now in your area. I have none. You will be my only one. I can give you 100% of my time, energy, effort, dedication to getting you the best price. You can only get 1/38th of his. And I thought that's just fantastic. And the weakness, instead of, McGrath's this and McGrath's that, he used the weakness to his advantage.
Toby Parker from Hocking Stewart, when we did the listing DVD in-house for them, it was never launched, it was an internal product. Our actors were asked to throw an objection at him, which was, you don't sell the most homes around here, why would we go with you? And Toby sharply said, we don't sell the most homes, and we've got to work harder than anybody else because we can't afford to absorb a bad result.
There you go.
Cracking comeback.
Love it.
Because the underdog, you're right, we don't sell the most and we can't afford to absorb a bad result. Same technique, but we've negotiated a justification because the other agent will come back and say, what did you go with them for? They don't do hardly anything. That's why we went with them. They were available. But the truth sets the negotiation free.
It does.
Because everyone's still flexing muscles at the beginning and I can't stand all that. I'll tell you what makes a great negotiator. They're approachable. I can actually chat with you. You're not throwing slick dialogue and Benjamin Franklin closes at me. We're chatting here, but you actually have a clear vision about the outcome. Sometimes you've got to stop a negotiation and say, Matt, we've been going for days on this. What's going to be the outcome?
You know, the addition to this as well, let's say you're taking to a buyer to a property that, is like that, framing it before you even get there. And this is all about creating the platforms and the link with, all the information that you're gathering. And this is why, you've got to think to yourself, what are these owners going to be like? What do these buyers need to know before they come to the property? So when you're using those types of, not a strategy exactly, but like when you're using those
techniques and concepts.
Yeah. I was trying to steer away from those words because they always sound like a bit, dialogue, But when you do have to deliver that, it's accepted. It's really accepted because you've been so transparent with this thing. You've touched on, people love, if they have information up front, even if it's the crappish news, if they have the information first before they sort of half know, it's so much less of a blow.
Matt, you're talking about one of the most powerful negotiation concepts now called pre-framing.
Pre-framing, yeah.
Information controls the process. How does the relationship or service levels influence a negotiation? The common mistakes, looking for platforms, and how timing can affect a negotiation. I used to get my target hit buyer for a home that I knew they would buy, and I'd say, look, meet me at the office. I'm not sure which house we're going to first, because they want to meet you there. So the owner's still confirming access times. Meet me at the office. We serve coffee, and then we're off. They'd rock in. Now, getting to the office means a significant difference versus, no, we're only going to meet you there. They come in, we sit in the little interview room, and I'd say to them, I've got a problem.
Yeah? What's that?
I've got the house, not a house, the house that meets your requirements. But I'm scared to show it to you, Matt.
Why is that, Lee?
You're going to walk in, you're going to love it, you're going to pretend you don't love it, you're going to say it's too much money, you're going to make me a low offer, I'm going to go to the owner, offend them, they're going to say, we don't want to sell to these people, it is the perfect house for you. But if you play the game on this one, we're going to blow the whole thing. I'd rather not even take you down there than you play me like a typical real estate agent and someone selling their house. These owners love this house, but I've got to tell you, Matt, I'm passionate about this house. And if you don't buy it today, I will sell this within the next 2 days. I'm just giving you a window of opportunity before the open market sees it in the ad on Friday. We've been looking for 3 months together. I want you to respect my decision on this home, and if you love it, buy it. And if you don't even make an offer. Don't offend them. These people would not take kindly to any low, jagged offer when you're trying to just get it cheap. Let me show you something you could possibly get lower than a premium home that suits your needs. That's price to sell. These people are moving into a lifestyle village. Their request of me is not to be on the market long. Every other home you've seen with these other agents, they bring them on 80 grand high, drop them 50, drop them 20, then you think you got a bargain. Pretend this has been on the market for 6 months. Do I have your consent to show me through? Then we turn up.
What a platform.
Right? It's like fast-tracking the whole thing. They rock in and go, oh, I say you love it, don't you? Now you know the rules. Let's go and sign the documents. But it was platformed. It was pre-framed. You can sell homes in the preparation. See, preparation, positioning, closing. If the prep's done, you positioned it, you can close it.
Close just happens. They'll ask you, oh, Lee, look, I'm thinking of offering $750. Do you think that's enough? 100% you'll ask them because you've taken it to that space.
Well, this is interesting. You know when a buyer says to you, look, I know we'll pay the price, but can you try $720 for us?
Yeah.
And you're like... And see, they love you. They actually just think you're on their side. And you say, look, firstly, I represent the owner, and this is a fair-priced home. I will mention you said to me $720, but we both know it's got to be higher than that, and the price is fair. But I will mention you wanted it for $720, but it's got to be at this price. And you're consenting that was your initial offer, but you're now agreeing to pay the price. You've got to understand in real estate, people want the chance, and you can't shatter a dream.
And I think this all comes back to the relationship. I think we've got to move away from, and especially people that are just getting established in this industry, if they can just work on the relationships, not only will they be a better negotiator with a few little things that they're going to learn along the way, but also that the results are going to be so much better. Like what you're saying here right now is with that, we'll offer $720, but we'll pay more. They just totally trust you and respect you, and they want you to handle it for them. They're giving you the right to take them on that journey.
And you're actually confirming a key factor because they need justification. People say, did you pay full price? Well, we offered $720 and then we had to go up to it, but that's okay because we love it. Yet if that didn't happen, there's a little thing in their brain. The negotiations miss a chip, and the chip is the part that makes it justified to them. Let's reverse this one round. I'd go into an owner. Let's say it's on the market for $799, or it's gone to auction past him, whatever it is, and we got an offer of $740. And I say to the owner, look, my job's to make you happy. How do you feel about this? I didn't say, would you accept it? I can't stand those words. And they go, oh, it's not what we wanted, but we want to sell it. Now, this is what you do. You say, Matt, let's take that as sold. I'm going to go back, but if I get you any more, it's a bonus. So I'm making you happy that you're sold, but if I can get you any amount of money above where we are, it's a bonus. Do we have a deal? Oh, do that. And again, they like that, oh, I want to sell it, but I want the chance of a little bit more. And if you go back and get $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $400, they think you're an incredible person because you did that.
And this is where agents, quite often, they'll say, I'll never ever say, I think you should take it. Never in a negotiation. I just don't say it. Because you only get to say that once, and you've got to be sure. Because if you say, oh, this is all they've got, $750,000, this is all they've got, that's it. You need to be completely sure. That's why these questions leading up to all this, all the information we've just been talking about, crucial. It might be all they've got, but it might not be also. Let's say it's $750, and the owner says, no, I'm not taking it. And you tell the buyer rings the next day, we'll offer him $760.
This is where you need a backup plan. An owner would say to me, Lee, do you think it's all they've got? I'd say, if I said yes to that and they offered $1 more, I'm wrong. If I say you shouldn't take it, and the best offer we get from here is 30,000 less, I'm wrong again. Selling your home is about you feeling comfortable in the moment that you have a chance to sell it. Do you feel comfortable to move forward with this chance? It completely removes the dollar. And you're neutral.
It's a little bit like playing chess. You look at great chess champions, I don't know the exact number, but it's like 8 or 16 moves or something ahead. That intrigued me when I heard that years ago. Absolutely intrigued me. And I thought, how do they actually get that far ahead? But they know the game so well that they can see the likely moves that could happen here, which is exactly what you've spoken about then. When you give people advice, you need to understand the likely scenarios that are going to come off of that. Then you're a real professional in the negotiation or guiding arena.
My final part of this information on conversation about negotiation, because I think everyone's understanding we have a concept to it. There's one technique you have, and I really like this one, and I want to bring it to the surface of this audio. Let's say you have done the negotiation and the purchaser's right, they're paying above market, but the vendor's hell-bent on their figure, and you've done all the conversations and writing. Matt, another technique that you use or concept is you put it all in writing in a very detailed document to them for them to ponder over. Explain this.
I've got a letter that I use, and it's or a couple of letters, but it's personalised. It's to them. I change a lot of it every time, and I deliver it over to the people, and I just say, look, I just wanted to put the offer in writing, just to leave it with you, have a read of it, and just see what you want to do. Just let me know after you read a bit more of the background of these people and where they're at and what they're thinking. And I'll leave it with them.
I love that, and what we can add to that now is, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, due to the law and legislation, I have to put these offers in writing to you. I've done that. And sometimes I would say, why do you have to put in writing? Let's say you don't accept this, and then the property sold for $50,000 less. The government's going to want to know, did you submit the offer in writing? Because there is a loss now of $50,000. Is the agent liable? Now, this is a fair market price. We've been on the market for 6 weeks. You'll see in the detail of my letter, I've professionally done my job, but I need to put that in writing to you. Otherwise, it looks like I've been unprofessional and not done my job or incompetent. And this is a very good price. It's your choice what you do, I understand that, but I can't be seen to be incompetent if it goes for a figure 50,000 less. And that would play on their mind of, oh my God, the legislation's involved.
And it sort of links back to that last chance thing. You only get one chance at it. And this is where you do need to be sure, but you still want to cover your base in case they just don't want to, like you don't want to be the person saying you must take it. That's why the letter in writing is a bit more than we have an offer on your property and blah, blah, blah. When it's in writing, it has a lot more energy about it, a lot more finality about it as well. It's a lot more real for people. It's not just an offer floating in the air somewhere. It's a very real step for them.
Matt, I'm going to read this letter because I think it's a great executive summary of what we've discussed. Now, the front page says, formal offer, a marketplace report, prepared for property with a photo. Why so formal?
Well, I think it breeds credibility.
I agree with you. And this letter that I've shared with people seems quite stern, and I think it's a time to be stern. Dear John and Lisa, re Mr. Simpson, potential purchaser of your property. As you know, we've been conducting negotiations on your property. As required by legislation, I'm enclosing a written summary of negotiations so far. On Saturday, the potential purchaser submitted to our office an initial offer of $850,000 on your property. For the past 6 months, the purchaser has looked extensively throughout the area, so he has an in-depth understanding of the current property market here. During the initial stage of negotiations, the purchaser is aware of the sales in the area that compare with your property, thus providing a factual basis for his offer. The purchaser was familiar with the property adjoining yours, which sold for $865, and with 28 Gunning Street, which sold for $845. Both properties were sold in June. Based on these sales, he feels that your property sits in the market between $850 and $860. After further negotiations, he made another offer of $855 on Saturday afternoon. Please be aware that at all times we've been vigilant in protecting your value and have been trying to extract the greatest price from both the market and particular from this purchaser. With this approach, we obtained a further offer of $860,000 from him on Sunday. Mr. Simpson has made it very clear to us that this is his final offer. He is prepared to move forward at this price, but feels that the offer is above true market value for your property. Based on the feedback that we've been receiving from other prospective buyers, we strongly believe that $860 represents a very good offer in today's market. Rest assured that we will act on whatever instructions that you provide in this matter. And the word matter is quite legal. Now, what you said before was so true. We can talk to some people, but when some people read it, and then overnight, maybe 7:15 the next morning, Matt, don't lose them. Well, timing's kicked in, facts have kicked in, emotions kicked in, and suddenly you're a professional negotiator. When I read that letter, when you first did that, it was the executive summary and wrap-up. I could see all the things you do and say in this final grand finale.
I might need that if people are getting divorced or separating or something like that, where I might have a stronger relationship with one rather than the other. Or it's just one of those people that just don't listen in general. And if I firmly believe it's a very good price or where we need to be or whatever, it's in their benefit to move, then I'll probably give them that letter. But I don't need to use it all that often, maybe once every few months.
Well, Matt, we've covered an enormous amount of information. Our listener needs to go back through the program, understand the concepts, stay clean. Is there any final advice you have for our people that want to be premium negotiators?
I think the thing that I've learned over the years is you have to practice. Like, you really need to practice the actual likely scenarios that you're going to come up with. Like, I have been role-playing with myself for 10, 12 years, like, and I mean religiously, like even when I'm driving around the car, I'll be practicing a likely negotiation scenario. So, like I said before, it is a chess game. There are great chess champions, and I always think about, in anything, there's always a few people that do extraordinarily well, and it's not necessarily that they are more talented, it's just that they've dedicated themselves to the journey. And I want to be known as a great negotiator, and the only way to get great at it is to practice it. I don't want to play on people's homes that are a real scenario. I want to be well versed in handling their home the best that I physically can. Tony Robbins, I think about Tony Robbins often, and Tony Robbins got into the speaking world, and most speakers speak once a month or once every second week. He spoke every day. Like, he wanted to be the best, and he knew the way to do that was actually doing it every single day. Well, we can't negotiate every day.
Matt, when we first started today, you mentioned the words removing the mist, and I think the title of this program says it so well, Pure Negotiation. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Lee.